AFF AF5JJ 5 by 9 N5SQA.
Hey, thank you so much. I'd had a report that the repeater might be getting, having a problem with getting through dust. So instead of my usual 8 watts, I'm at 50 watts tonight. Thank you so much for the reply. Skynet starts in about 9.5 minutes.
As it's not the signals getting through the dust, it's excess noise being created by the dust. N5BB, sound good.
Jeff, it's all space dust anyway. Send 5 IMS.
F5JJ. I'm trying at 8 watts and see if that comes through okay this evening instead of the 50, since I probably only need 8. This is your warning. In about 3 minutes, Skynet starts, so if you need to go take a bathroom break.
The warning, there was a slight hiss, but you were completely understandable, so I will take heed of the warning. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Can you say that in the form of a pun? This is M5 IMS.
With the current weather conditions, I might have to dust off a few. Oh, wait, that was a pun.
We must have gone through the tail of a comet. W5GUS.
Racing's net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet. Hear ye, I am KF5JHA, also known as, that would be AKA Chaz, and I'll be your world, net control station for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. At least for the last 9 years we've been doing that, concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateur radio operators, amateur astronomers, even students become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateur radio operators interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. With priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign break break and then your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? None. We'll continue on. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, a.k.a. Chaz. And the station's reminded to ID at the end of each one of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. And that's what almost all the repeaters use, is a private line tone of 110.9 in this area. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using W5FC-R station ID or the Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, live audio and video links, Tom dancing in front of the camera are also available online. Just go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. I should have brought up the video. I want to see Tom dancing in front of the camera. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events. Discussion feature topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space lunches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages, and, we also have questions and answers, but, I don't want to save those to the end. If you have a question related to one of the segments we're doing, ask that question at the end of the segment so we can get an answer right away. And then the 73 round. All amateur licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. It doesn't need to be just a couple of talking heads. We want you to participate. All right, it's time to start, I guess, with our check-ins. Right now, round one is going to be low power and short time check-ins. Now, you're going to be kind to me. I only do this net control thing once every 3 months or so. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to check in by groups of 3. I need your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. So if you have low power or short time, please come now. The first 3 of you, please. Oh, and if you give your call sign phonetically, that would really help me. Thank you.
Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India. I, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Here be November 5, Sierra, Quebec, Alpha, Ron, beautiful downtown Dallas, N5SQA, short time. Five, Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas, low power 3 watts.
Okay, that's our first 3. Thank you so much, Ted and Ron and Gus. Gus, with low power, you're doing really well. And I guess you probably have an antenna that's sticking up in the air a little bit. Okay, come now with the next 3 that are low power and or short time check-ins. Your call sign phonetically, please, name, and where you're transmitting from.
Is November 5, India, Mike, Sierra, JJ, in far, far, far North Carrollton.
Jay, you're usually on Echolink and not on the air. That's great. Welcome this evening, far, far, far North Carrollton. Wow. Okay, you're hitting the repeater fine. Okay, that must be the end of our low power and short time check-ins. All right. We're going to take general, that would be radio frequency check-ins. We'll get to Echolink in just a few minutes. So, once again, your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. And don't go really fast, please. Thank you. The first three for regular check-ins.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas. Kilo Fox 5, Papa Lima, Richardson.
Hey, that's great. I've got, let's see now, Philip from Crandall. I've got Bill from Irving, Jacob from Dallas, and I think I know who this KF5PLL is. Could you come now with your name so everyone knows?
KF5PLL, I beg your indulgence, everybody. I forgot. My name is KF5PLL.
Much, PLL. Since we work together, I think I know what your name is. Okay, the next three come now phonetically with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Thank you for going slow enough for me to write all this down.
This is Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Golf 5, Uniform, Kilo Uniform, David, Whiskey.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Much. I've got Tom and David and James. Tom's from Louisville. David's from Mesquite. Hey, I know where that is. And James is from Carrollton. By the way, I'm in Mesquite too. So okay. Come now, the next three with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Thank you for going slow enough for me to write all this down.
This is Kilo 1, Mike, Uniform, November, David in Rowlett.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda Center.
This is Alpha Delta 5, Sierra Echo, Chuck Richardson.
I'm sorry, I missed your name. Could you do that once again? Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Delta, I believe, is the call sign. But what was your name again? I didn't get it.
Roger, Roger. This is Alpha Delta 5, Super Ego, Chuck in Richardson.
I acknowledge David and Brenda and Chuck. Thank you so much. Okay, the next three, please come now with your call sign and your name and where you're transmitting from.
So, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa Allen in Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Papa Hotel John Plano.
The Bill, the net control recognizes Bill and Alan and John. Thank you so much. Okay, the next three, call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray. Kelly in Finland.
Go 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
And that'll recognize Kelly and Tony. Kelly's in Quinlan and Tony's in Dallas. Just to let you know, Kelly, if you can boost your power, I don't think you can improve your position. You do sound like you have a lot of noise, so the dust is interfering with you. So if you can boost your power, that would be great. Okay, the next three. You are readable, though. The next three, with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from, please. Okay, I don't hear anything. So let's go to EchoLink. Let's get check-ins from EchoLink. I see a whole bunch of people on there. Jay and, well, Kelly already checked in, and Joe and Beth and Billy. Oh, JJ's already checked in. And Mark, if you want to come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from, that would be great. I'm going to leave lots of extra time so EchoLink can check in. Please come now.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Zulu Mike Golf Joe in Arlington.
Hey, I recognize Jay and Joe over on EchoLink. I'm also going to put down Mark, because he's in there, N5TXZ. And let's see now. Tom's there, Jay's already checked in, Kelly's already checked in, Joe's checked in. Beth, I'm going to check you in. K5LGG, Beth. Billy, I'm going to check you in. I haven't heard from you, but I'm going to check you in anyway. KF5PDS. Okay, is there anyone else, any mode, that would like to check into EchoLink right now? We've got 25 people so far. That's a pretty healthy check-in, but come now, any mode. Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Right, hearing no more. I'm watching stuff on Echolink. This is going to be fun doing Echolink and on the air, too, at the same time. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical space, or of general interest to licensed ham radio operators. Come now with your call sign if you have an announcement.
10-5 BB.
Oh, Tony, you disappoint me. You always have something. All right, so Bill, N5BB, come now with your announcement. That is yours.
Okay, very good, Chaz. This is N5BB. We are in the middle of Winter Field Day. Central Standard Time, Winter Field Day started at 1 p.m. today, and it continues until 1 p.m. tomorrow. So you can do a web search for the rules, Winter Field Day. If you're operating one station from your house, in other words, just one transmitter at a time from your house, you want to use, inside your house, you want to use mode 1H. So the exchange would be 1H NTX for North Texas. It's 1H North Texas. And you'll find stations all over the HF bands, although conditions are pretty rotten, so you might not find as many stations as normal. The only other news I have is SpaceX has delayed the next Starship launch, serial number 7, I think, for over a week. And I think the rumor is that they're going to try launching it on Monday. I don't know if Tom will have more about that later, but it sure has been delayed multiple times in the last week. N5BB.
Yeah, I'll bet we have some more information about that later on, too. I do want to put out an announcement. It's not in the script, but I know what's coming up. I think we have a meeting, a club meeting coming up on this coming Tuesday. That'll be a virtual meeting. I think we get some links to that somehow, some way. That would be at 7 o'clock, but it's a virtual meeting. Okay, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Also, the AMSAT, that's the amateur radio satellite group, has 2 nets available in the Dallas residence on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under groups or AMSAT, A-M-S-A-T. Also, live audio link is available on their website, which is amsatnet.com. This net originates from Houston, Texas. There's also another AMSAT East net on the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, every Tuesday at 8 p.m., except when we have meetings, which is this coming Tuesday, so don't go looking for that net because we'll have our meeting then. But that's usually at 8 p.m. on 146.88, private line tone, 110.9 on Tuesdays. Tom N5HYP is the net control for that. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DIRC Club Night, so no AMSAT East night. Also, there's an AMSAT Net West every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater 147.14, PL tone again 110.9 megahertz positive offset. Okay, let's see now. Oh, we also have other nets like on Monday nights. Hold on. First week of the month, we have Ham Fixin' Net. On the second week, we have Ecom 101. On the third week, Monday nights, Ham Fixin's Net again. Second helpings, I guess. On the fourth week of each month, on Monday nights, is GeekNet. And if there's a fifth one, that's a surprise net. I can't tell you what it is, because otherwise it wouldn't be a surprise. On Tuesday nights, the MSAT East, of course, we just talked about that. Friday nights, it's the most accident-prone city in, I think, the world. It's called Search City. It's at 7:30 p.m. every Friday night. On this repeater, learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the night control. Visit the most, I already said that, disaster-prone city in the universe. Yeah. Oh, it says universe, not the world. Okay, every Friday. All are welcome. Saturdays, of course, there's a TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., and, of course, Skynet. And then on the first and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. Net at noon, Monday through Friday, well, almost daily. And it's a lunch munch one. Here's a different topic and a survey question every time. I can't believe there's all sorts of different topics they come up with. I've enjoyed that when I was in lockdown during the summer. That was an awesome one to do. And the ARRL Net, National Traffic Training Net, is every night, Monday through Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Well, it'll be Central Daylight Time when we switch. All are welcome for any check-ins on any and all of these nets. I have this description that someone comes up with. I'm not sure who this is, but someone comes up with this description for the Afterglow movie. That would be after Skynet. That would be at 10:30-ish. Tom, KE5ICX, could you go through this summary of this possible movie we're going to be talking about at 10:30 tonight?
Why, yes, Chaz, I'll be happy to do that. Write these down. Sharpen your pencil. We've got Joshua and Kevin, I think, from Brookhaven campus, are checking in. I also got Darwin. He is Kilo Echo 5, Romeo Foxtrot Zulu from Garland. He's over on Facebook. The other two are on YouTube. So just thought I'd mention those because you have an admiring public out there. And I will go ahead and give the highly accurate Afterglow movie information. Here we go. Emerson Bixby looked at his father, who was slumped over his typewriter, muttering something about Roddenberry, ripped shirts, and a simpleton called Shatner. On the floor, a coffee-stained script. Emerson picked it up and spirited away to his room. There he found an azure blue crayon and started drawing pictures of John, the main character. John tied up. John being tracked by an angry mob. John with a ripped shirt. Apparently the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but also Emerson frequently answered Roddenberry's slurred-laden phone calls, and it had rubbed off on the young lad. Join us for the sequel to The Man from Earth, which we watched just last week, imaginatively called The Man from Earth, Holocene, from 2017, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eternity is a very long time. Back to Net Control, this is KE556.
I think you need to hold the antenna up in the air a little bit higher. There is a lot of noise on yours, but not as much as Kelly's noise, so okay. All right, thank you, Tom. The Net Control would usually call up on Chaz to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, but I'm going to talk about it instead. Oh, wait, that's me anyway. Let's see. Hold on. Cue that up, but I queued everything else up. Wow, that's pretty good. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas meets on the fourth Friday of each month, and we've been doing this virtually since March, so, okay, it's been a while since we've done anything other than virtual meetings. But when we had meetings, we were at the University of Dallas campus right on Campbell Road. But right now it's been virtual meetings. I'm scrolling. Oh, there we go. The next meeting is going to be on February 26th at 7:30 p.m. with Andrea Dupree. She's going to have a title of The Mysterious Great Dimming of Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse. Just remember that this dimming happened just about a year ago, and we were talking about this on this net for weeks. So Andrea Dupree is the astrophysicist, and currently the head of the Solar, Stellar, and Planetary Sciences Division at the Center of Astrophysics at Harvard Smithsonian in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting about a week in advance of the meeting. I have no idea when we're going to resume face-to-face meetings. I hope sometime, maybe this summer, we'll have some public observing stars sessions so you can actually look through a telescope. If you want more information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, go to texasastro.org for updated information for details. Do you have any questions about anything we've covered so far on announcements? One more announcement. Bill, N5BB, talk to us about the National Space Society events and activities, please.
Thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB. I am the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Due to the coronavirus restrictions, we can't do any public events now. But we are having virtual meetings on the second Sunday afternoons of every month at 4 p.m. And if you want to attend one of these as a visitor, or if you would like to join the National Space Society and or our local chapter, you can send me an email at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. Or N5BB@ARRL.net. And one other little note, Chaz, you mentioned the DARC meeting on Tuesday. If you're lost and can't figure out how to find the meeting, go to w5fc.org, and at top there's a button for DARC activities. Inside there's a calendar. Open up the calendar, go to Tuesday, February the 2nd, and you will see links or buttons for the Board of Directors meeting and the General meeting. Open them up, and you'll find information on how to attend those meetings. Okay? That's how you do it in 5BB. Thank you, Chaz.
Oh, okay. This is KF5JHA, and I'm Net Control. So I am going to do a short feature topic and then expand on Was Up segment tonight. But first, the feature topic. Slide Master, slide number 1, please. I get asked on a regular basis, what kind of telescope do you recommend buying? In fact, I had someone on this net a few weeks ago press me and try to get me to suggest that. But, you know, I'm not going to do that. Actually, I always suggest getting binoculars first and then get a telescope. The TAS meeting, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas meeting for January 2021, just a few days ago, it was just 8 days ago, had a feature speaker, Stephen Tompkins, from England, and he talked about binoculars. I've talked about binoculars on Skynet in the past, and Stephen Tompkins has inspired me to do so again. So, Slide Master, slide number 2, please. You don't need to spend a lot on a pair of binoculars if you don't already have a pair. You can get an okay pair of binoculars at a local department store for about $50 or less. I was in Sam Club and saw a pair of Bushnell binoculars, which aren't bad, 10 by 50s, on sale for $30. Actually, it was $29.95, I think. But sometimes the lower cost of binoculars results in lower quality and poorer images. Now, I own a wide range of binoculars with different sizes and qualities, from a very small pair that I can fit in my shirt pocket all the way up to a pair that I must use a tripod to support so the image is steady. Here is some basic information about binoculars. You will usually see two numbers on binoculars that look like a 6x30. If you're looking at the video image, I've shown you a picture of that. We say 6x30 is what we say. The first number is the magnification of binoculars, or in other words, how many times larger the object appears compared to just your two eyes. The higher the number, the higher the magnification, and the more zoomed in into the image will be. But the higher magnification will also mean holding the binoculars steady will be difficult, and you may want to put them on a tripod. Slide number 4, please, slide master. The second number is the size of the objective lens in millimeters. The objective lens are the lenses that you point at the object. The eyepiece lenses are the lenses that you put up to your eyes. Well, that makes sense. Usually the larger the objective lens, the fainter the objects that you can see in the nighttime sky. But as the lenses get large, the binoculars get heavier and are harder to hold or hold steady. Slide number 5, please. Recently, I bought from a friend a pair of 8x40 binoculars that's become my favorite for general and astronomical use. They're not too heavy, so I can hold them for a long time, and not too high power, so the image does not wiggle around. And they are high quality. Slide number 6, please. Sounds like a story that I know involves 3 bears and Goldilocks and porridge, and that is just right. But there are really only 2 bears in the sky, and I told you that the Brookhaven mascot is a bear. Go Bears! Okay, getting back on task. Slide number 7. I have a couple of pairs of 20x80 binoculars. I'm showing you on the video version what they are, that need to be attached to the tripod. These are great in a dark sky for looking at fainter objects in the sky, such as galaxies, close by emission nebulas, scanning the Milky Way, or just looking at star clusters like the Hyades, which I talked about at last week's Skynet. Number 8, please. Stephen Tompkins talked about binoculars for about 90 minutes at the last task meeting and didn't cover everything on binoculars. There are so many things I could cover in just a few minutes, like optical path designs, optical coatings, focusing, anti-shake features, zoom features, and much more. I've only used, not even 10 minutes, I don't think, and only covered just a few basic pieces of information. So if you want more information on binoculars, I recommend Stephen Tompkins' books. First one is called Binocular Astronomy, and if you're looking at the video version, you're seeing the covers. And the other is Discover the Night Sky Through Binoculars, a systematic guide to binocular astronomy. And I believe both are available on Amazon. I believe Kelly has gotten donations from TASS members that are donating books to the TASS libraries. If you're a TASS member, you can actually borrow those books from the TASS library. If you have any questions or have any comments about binoculars, come down with your call sign. The difference between a telescope and a binocular? Probably binoculars are smaller. Oh, that's a comment that JJ is doing over on Echolink. Okay, what's up next is usually Skynet. What's up? And so I have to pass this to Chaz. Oh, wait, that's me. And my degree is in astrophysics, and I'm the astrophysics lab manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We do call this segment What's Up, because I talk about what's up. That was slide number 9. Oh, slide master, I'm getting you behind. Slide number 10, please. The moon was full on January 28th. That makes the current phase of the moon a waning gibbous. So that places the moon in the morning sky for most of you, those early morning risers. The moon will be at perigee on February the 3rd. Perigee is when the moon is closest to the Earth in its orbit. The moon will be at third quarter phase on February the 4th, and the moon will be new on February the 11th. On February the 18th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit which is furthest from the Earth. And on February 19th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. Slide number 11, please. On February the 6th, the planets Saturn and Venus are in conjunction in the early morning sky. 7 a.m. is a great time to look at the eastern sky to find them. Of course, Venus is the brighter planet, and Saturn will be just above Venus. Now, this is in strong twilight, so Venus will be easy to see. Saturn might not be so easy to see. Slide number 12. Once again, we're looking at the strong twilight, February the 10th. The planets Jupiter and Venus are in conjunction in the early morning sky. Venus is the brighter. Jupiter is just to the lower left of Venus. Not too far away from the pair, the upper right, you might find Saturn, and just to the left of Venus and Jupiter, you could find the planet Mercury. 4 planets at once in that part of the sky. And the crescent moon is just below Saturn as well. February the 18th is the date when you can find the moon and Mars in conjunction, about halfway up in the western sky, around 10 or 11 p.m. And slide number 14, on February the 26th, low in the early morning southeastern sky, you can find Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. Mercury are going to be like halfway in between Saturn and Jupiter. If you look the day before, it's not quite in between. If you look at the day after, it's not going to be quite in between. So February 26th, I hope it's clear that morning to take a look. And slide number 15, in the evening sky, getting away from the city lights, you may be able to see the fainter winter Milky Way that stretches from the south overhead and into the north from the constellations of Canis Major into the north of Orion through Auriga, and then to Perseus and then to Cassiopeia. Slide number 16. But the winter evening sky is dominated by the most bright stars of any other time of the year. In fact, there's a winter circle of bright stars, beginning with a star that's roughly overhead, which is Capella and Auriga. Then going clockwise, you will find Aldebaran, the bright red bullseye in Taurus the bull. Continuing in the circle, we arrive to the bright star on the knee of Orion, Rigel. Rigel's mentioned in Star Trek series a lot. By the way, on MeTV, Star Trek's going on if you want to watch that. I don't know if Tom has that on in the background or not. Then we go to Sirius as the next star in the circle, and it's the brightest star in the nighttime sky. Next is the star Procyon in Canis Minor. Now on to the 2 stars representing the heads of the Gemini twins, Pollux and Castor. And finally back to the star Capella. At the center of the circle is the supergiant star Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse. Don't say that 3 times in a row. We don't need that kind of trouble. We have Chaz around instead. High in the west in the constellation of Aries the Ram. Its reddish color gives it away. Mars is not very close at 231 million kilometers right now. Back on October the 6th, that would be 2020, Mars was much closer to the Earth at only a distance of 38.6 million kilometers. Slide number 18, please. In the north, Polaris is 33 degrees high. That's our latitude. So Polaris is degrees high. That's the same as our latitude here in the northern hemisphere. Polaris isn't very bright, shining at second magnitude. In fact, it's only the 49th brightest star in the sky. To the left of Polaris, in the northwest, you can find the constellation of Cassiopeia. We've talked about Cassiopeia before. Cassiopeia right now looks like the letter E. Looking to the right of Polaris, if you have a clear northeastern horizon, you can find the Big Dipper rising with its bowl above its handle. It looks kind of strange having the Big Dipper standing on its handle right now. and flight number 19. Did I mention that there's a Super Bowl game being played in about 8 days from now in Florida? Well, the real Super Bowl is the Big Dipper in the northeastern sky. The Big Dipper is an asterism. An asterism is not a constellation of stars, but rather a group of stars that looks like something and is usually part of a constellation. For me, the Big Dipper looks like a cooking pan with a long handle. In the evening sky, the Big Dipper is oriented with its bowl rising above its handle. In other words, it's standing on its handle. It does look funny to me that it's standing on its handle. The Big Dipper is part of the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. Did I talk about the Big Bear, Brookhaven Bears before? Yeah, go Bears. Maybe in the future episodes of What's Up, I can talk about why the Big Bear has such a long tail. Because the handle of the Big Dipper is the tail of the bear. But right now, that's a tale too long to tell tonight. Do you have a laugh track you can play right now, Tom? Once again, if it's clear weather at halftime of the Super Bowl football game, stretch your legs, go outside, find the real Super Bowl, the Big Dipper, and maybe even Mars in the sky. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Once again, the Task Club meeting will be on February the 26th, the next one at 7:30. Andrea Dupree will be talking about the mysterious dimming of Betelgeuse that happened just a year ago. Number 21, I want to thank the students from Dallas College at the Brookhaven campus that are listening, watching the Skynet tonight. Students, just a reminder, if you want to get stargazing class credit for this, then remember to fill out the form within the next 48 hours. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill or any information at all? Maybe you have just a general astronomy question. I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question, or maybe someone else here has the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
GUS with a binocular viewing tip.
Go ahead. Give us your binocular viewing tip. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chaz. W5GUS here. If you watch people, typically when you raise a pair of binoculars up to your eyes, look at their elbows, and their elbows are usually out to their side, pointing east and west if you're viewing north. The tip is to hold your binoculars much more steady. Bring your elbows down to rest them on the front of your chest or your sides, right? Bring your elbows down to your chest, and you might have to use just your fingertips to hold the binoculars, but by bringing your elbows down and steadying them on your body, your binoculars will be shaking a lot less. It'll be a lot more steady that way. Back to net, W5GUS.
Thank you, Gus. And at the task meeting, Stephen Tompkins suggested not holding it where the prisms are in your binoculars, but supporting them close to where the eyepieces are, because you can rest the binoculars sort of on your head using your thumbs, and it's much more comfortable, and you can hold them up a lot longer. You can take a look at that detailed information. If you're a task member, I think the video is available for the last meeting online. Okay, thank you so much. Before we go on to the next segment, I need to find out if we have any more check-ins. If you have not checked in to get credit for Skynet tonight, please come now with your call sign. Please do it phonetically and slowly. Your name and where you're transmitting from.
Number 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite.
That recognizes N50F. Welcome. Hey, you're another neighbor of mine from Mesquite. All right. We are up to segment number 6. This is space exploration and space history. I believe Kelly is doing that tonight. K5KTX. Go now. It's your next.
Thank you, Chad. This is K5KTX, and hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I heard that there was some noise going on, but I'm not sure what's happening there. All right, so NASA and SpaceX are targeting no earlier than Tuesday, April the 20th, for launch of the second crew rotation mission with astronauts, rockets, and space from the United States to the International Space Station. Crew 2 mission will launch 4 astronauts aboard a Dragon space on a Falcon 9 block in space. It will be the first mission to fly 2 international partners through the commercial crew program. NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan McArthur will serve as passenger and pilot. Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronauts European Space Agency astronaut Tomal Pesquet will join as mission specialist. The mission will lift off from Space Center in for a long duration stay of orbiting laboratory, living and working on what is expected A7 member crew. Crew 2 also is expected to arrive at the space station overlap with the astronauts that flew to the station as part of the agency's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. Return of Crew 1 was NASA astronauts Michael Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Tanner Walker, along with JAXA astronauts Zoe Nabuti, is currently scheduled for late April or early May. Crew 2 astronauts are set to return in the fall of 2021. NASA and SpaceX also continue preparations for the launch of the agency's Crew 3 mission, which is currently targeted for fall of this year. And by the way, Megan McArthur, who will be on the flight, is married to astronaut Bob Bacon, who was on the first SpaceX, the Divo 2 crew, and she was also part of the STS-125 mission, which is my favorite space shuttle mission, the one that's the 5th and final service. And here's an update to a story that I brought to you 2 weeks ago. NASA plans to conduct a second green hot fire test as early as the 4th week in February with the Space Launch System, or SLS, rocket force that will launch the Artemis 1 mission to the moon. The green run is a comprehensive assessment of the rocket's core stage prior to launching Artemis mission. While the first hot fire test is a major milestone for the program, with the fire of all 4 for about a minute, it ended earlier than planned. After evaluating data from the first hot fire test and the prior 7 Greenland tests, NASA and core stage lead contractor Boeing determined that a second, longer hot fire test should be conducted and would pose minimal risk to the Artemis 1 core stage while providing valuable data to help certify the core stage performance. Inspections showed the core stage hardware, including its engines and the B2 substand, are in excellent condition after the hot fire test, and no major repairs are needed to prepare for a second hot fire test. And this is finished in Bay, St. Louis, Mississippi. After the second hot fire test, it will take about a month to reach the core stage and its engines. Then the Pegasus barge will transport the core stage to NASA Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Assembled with the other parts of the SLS and the Orion spacecraft being prepared for the Artemis 1 launch later this year.
Kelly, this is KF5JJ. I'd like to stop it for just a moment. You're about 90% noise, and most people aren't being able to follow. I'm following only because I've got a script that you've sent in. But do you have the ability to transmit over Echolink right now, since you're on Echolink? this up again next week because I've got it. I know you've got several more things you were going to talk about. Mars Perseverance, Voyager 2, Mars Exploration Rover, Opportunity, and then you were going to talk about some of the anniversaries like the Challenger and stuff and Apollo 1. We had the Day of Remembrance at NASA just a couple of days ago. So I know you were going to talk about those things, but we just really can't hear you right now. All right. Thank you, Kelly. I'm so sorry. It's a weather problem. It's not you at all. Okay. We're going to go on to the next one. I have to call on Chaz. Oh, that's me. For Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week now. Masters, slide number 23. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019 with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. So there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen from Texas throughout the year. Out of the 88 total constellations, Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we have continued the tradition of the constellation per week and named it after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer. Sealum, the Chisel, and Columba the Dove. Okay, slide master number 24. Sealum constellation is located in the southern hemisphere. Its name is the Latin word for chisel. The small, faint constellation originally named from the sculptor's chisel. It's only one of 14 constellations created by the French astronomer Nicolas, I always screw up his name, Lasalle, in the 18th century. Sealum is the 8th smallest constellation in the sky, occupying an area of 125 square degrees. There's no mist associated with it. It's depicted as just a sculptor's chisel. Okay, slide number 25. Constellation's brightest star, Alpha Celi, shines at magnitude 4.44 and is difficult to see from light-polluted areas. I mean, I can't see it from inside the city. It's a binary star, approximately 65 light years in distance, about 900 million years old, and is a suspected member of the Ursa Major moving group, which is called Colander 285, a group of stars, including the brightest stars in the constellation of Ursa Major. Hey, we talked about that just a minute ago, didn't we? The Big Dipper. That shares similar velocities and are likely originated from the same star cluster. We have a late edition. We're going to go back to something in just a few minutes. I'm reading on Echolink. The binary star component is an F-type main sequence, Alpha Celi A, which is suspected delta, a variable star, which exhibiting variation of luminosity as a result of both radial and non-radial pulsations on its surface. The companion is a red giant belonging to a spectral class M0.5V. I'm saying V because it's really called 5. So you don't get confused with the 0.5. With an apparent magnitude of 9.8, which is faint, but in a telescope you should be able to see. It is also a variable, but it is a UV Ceti type of flare star. It occasionally undergoes sudden extreme increases in illumination for just a few minutes. So this pair of stars could be a neat pair to look at. Ceti is designated for a two-star system separated by only 0.22 degrees in the sky. In a small telescope, the system is resolved into a red giant and a white giant with apparent magnitudes of 4.5 and 6.34 respectively. Gamma 1 Ceti is a binary star that consists of an orange K-type giant, approximately 185 light years in distance. And the magnitude 8 companion is located 3.1 arc seconds away, which is kind of close. Gamma 2, the other star, It's also a double star. Wow. So that's kind of interesting. At 334 light years from Earth, it's composed of a white, yellow F-type giant classified as Delta Scuti, a type variable, and a companion star that's spectral type F2, 4 or 5. It's an apparent magnitude of 9.6. Number 26. Let's go on to, we're going to continue with this constellation. It really doesn't have any prominent deep sky objects, only very few faint galaxies. NGC 1679, this is slide number 6, is a barred spiral galaxy located 2 degrees south of Zeta Caeli. The galaxy has an apparent magnitude of 13 and occupies an area of only 2.7 by 2 minutes in size. It was discovered by Herschel in November 18th, 1835. It lies at an approximate distance of 48 million light years from the Earth. Slide number 27, IC 2106. By the way, when you see that catalog number in front of something, it usually means you can't see it. So you need something else like a big telescope to see it. IC 2106 is a barred spiral galaxy that lies approximately 229 million light years from the Earth. The galaxy was discovered by Lewis Swift on December 26, 1897. It has a visual magnitude, again, of 13. The IC means I don't see. Yes, okay, yeah. Slide number 28. Columba is actually is a dove. It's a constellation located in the southern sky. Its name means the dove in Latin. The constellation's origin was Noah's dove. It was named after the biblical dove that informed Noah that the great flood was receding. Noah's dove is sent from the ark to see where if there's any dry land after the great flood. The bird returns holding an olive branch in its beak, signaling that the flood is receding. Columba is the 54th constellation in size, occupying an area of 270 square degrees. Slide number 29. Fact. Not interesting. Fact. P-H-A-C-T. It's the brightest star in Columba. It belongs to the spectral type B74. Its name is derived from the Arabic word al-Fatha, which means the dove or ring dove. The star is an apparent magnitude of 2.6 and approximately 270 light years in distance. It's a double star composed of a BE-type supergiant and just sort of like the Gamma Cassiopeia type of variable, and an apparent magnitude that varies from 2.6 to 2.66. It has a faint companion star with a magnitude of 12. That's a faint star. The primary star has an expanding gas shell surrounding it. Columba is a runaway star believed to have been expelled from the Orionis system in the Trapezium cluster in Orion constellation. That's the center of M42, the Orion Nebula. It is a fast-rotating star that completes a full rotation about every 1.5 days. Wow, that's a fast-rotating star, belonging to a spectral class of O9.5. It is one of the rare O-class stars that actually can be seen with the naked eye. New Columba is approximately 1,300 light years in distance and has an apparent magnitude of 5.15, so you need to be in dark skies to see this. Slide number 30, NGC 1808. The Seyfert Galaxy, approximately 40 million light years distance, has an apparent magnitude of 10.8 and an apparent size of 6 minutes by 4 minutes. NGC 1808 is a barred spiral galaxy and shares a number of similarities with the Milky Way galaxy. It is an unusual nucleus. It's shaped like a warped disk and shows odd flows of hydrogen gas flowing out from its central region. The galaxy is believed to have a lot of star-forming activity occurring in it. Last deep sky object that I'm going to talk about is NGC 1851. This is slide number 31, sir. It's also known as Caldwell 73. It's a globular star cluster in Columba. It is an apparent magnitude of 7.3. Now, you can see this through a telescope. It's not like going to the 13th magnitude thing. Binoculars can actually view it. It's approximately 39,000 light years in distance. The cluster occupies an area about 11 minutes in size. Okay, this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Elam and Columba. I've just given you a few samplings of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects or so. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Sealam, the Chisel, and Columba, the Dove. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words that I borrowed on deep sky objects that I've used tonight. And I oftentimes use, and in fact most of the stuff came from the website constellation-guide.com for some of the information. Actually, most of the information I used tonight. Next week, we'll take a look at something you've never heard before. Orion the Hunter. Wow. Okay. So, I've been talking an awful lot. Let me see. Yeah, ring the bell or signal the slide chains. Okay. Oh, should I signal a bell? Okay. Tom, I guess you might get to do two things in a row. You're going to finish up Kelly's space information, and then you're going to talk about space launches, I believe. Tom, KE5, ICX, the net is yours.
Thank you, Chaz. I'm going to have to, I may have closed the window on this one, so I'll get the slides set up in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and do space launches for the week first, and then you vamp it and take check-ins, and I'll get the slideshow back up for Miss Kelly. She had a lot of information this week. This week in space history is very loaded with a lot of things that went on, so we don't want to miss that. So let me go ahead and do space launches for this week first, and then let me reset. We have February 1st, which is, 2 days from now, Falcon 9 Starlink launch. This is from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 18th batch of approximately 60 satellites from SpaceX Starlink broadband network, a mission-designated Starlink V1.0L17, but you weren't counting, or were you? Then February 14th, guess what? Starlink V1.0L18 launches from Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral, right across the little canal there. Canaveral, I love it. Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 19th batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX Starlink broadband network, a mission-designated L18. Also in February, to be determined, Falcon 9 Starlink 19, Launch Complex 39A. Do you see a pattern going here? SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 20th batch of approximately, you guessed it, 60 satellites for SpaceX Starlink broadband network. On February 14th or 15th, overnight, the Soyuz Progress 77 Papa P will launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch the 77th Progress cargo delivery ship to the International Space Station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration, the classic configuration, with the forgotten upper stage. Now this one is listed as first quarter. Okay, we're in the first quarter. STP-27RM. This is from Launch Complex 2, Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, Waltz Island, Virginia. A rocket lab The Electron rocket will launch on its first mission from a new launch pad in the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, Walsall, Virginia. The launch customer is the U.S. Air Force, and the mission will launch an experimental mission for the Space Test Program called Monolith. With a space weather instrument, Monolith mission will demonstrate the ability of a small satellite to support large aperture payloads. On February 20th, there will be a Northrop Grumman Antares rocket launch for the 16th Cygnus cargo freighter with the 15th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission known as NG-15, the rocket will fly in an Antares 230 configuration with two RD-181 first stage engines and a Castor 30XL second stage. That's from Wallops Island from Pad 0A. On February 25th, there will be a Soyuz OneWeb 5 launch. The rocket will launch 36 satellites into orbit for OneWeb, which is developing constellations of hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communication. Competitor to SpaceX. Interesting. The Soyuz 2.1B rocket will use a Fregat upper stage. I told you. All right, that's all I got here. I'm going to try and reload the slide presentation. I seem to have lost it. So go ahead and take check-ins, Chaz. This is KE5ICX.
That will be a pleasure of mine. So, if you are out there and you want to get credit for Skynet for this evening, please check in with your call sign, your name, and your location. Please come slowly with your phonetic call sign so I can write them down. Come now if you'd like to check in.
This is Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richards.
This is Kilo, DC of 5, Golf, Romeo, Hotel. Returning from them.
Kilo, India, 5, Kilo, Tango, Zulu. Rock Lake, 6 Dallas.
Okay, I'm going to need a little bit of fill on a couple of them. Let's see now. AA5AH. Could you come back with your name again?
Yeah, it's Robert, and I'm in Richardson, Texas.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, the second one, KI5RH, I believe. You sound familiar, but I didn't get your name. The interference was such where I couldn't get your name. Please come again with your name.
Yes, this is Melissa. Melissa, KI5GD, Golf, Romeo, Hotel, Mobile. That's probably why I don't sound so good. Thanks.
Okay, I got your whole call sign, K5GRH, Melissa. Thank you. I know you sounded familiar. Okay, you're mobile. Okay. And the last one, I think it's 5KTZ, I believe. I missed your name. Could you please come now with your name? I got someone. Melissa. Oh, you're on Echo Link too. Okay, very good. Oh no, JJ said you're on the air. Okay, Tom, we're up to 30 people so far on Skynet. I have room for 42 on my sign-in sheet. I was optimistic because 42 is a favorite number of mine. Tom, are you ready? Would you like to take over for where Kelly left off, or at the beginning of where Kelly was? It's up to you.
Late check-in.
Oh, please come now with late check-in.
Kilo 5, Oscar Sierra Hotel, Russ, Farmers Branch.
Russ, you've been checking into this net from the beginning, I believe. All right, thank you, Russ. Nice to hear you. All right, let's try to go to Tom now. Tom, are you ready?
Yes, I put the new cassette in for the 35 millimeter slides that I am about to present. This is KE5ICX.
This is yours, KE5ICX.
For those of you outside of the Dallas area, or even inside the Dallas area, we're having an interesting phenomenon. We've had high winds and a lot of dust, and somehow or another that's causing a lot of interference this evening. So Miss Kelly, you usually have the perfect signal. It dropped out, and in fact I had to increase power about double what I normally do because it was not very good earlier. So bear with us. I'm going to go ahead and give Kelly's presentation this evening, K5KTX. For her, I'll relay it. So this is KE5ICX. If you're watching, there is a stream. There's about 7 slides here. It starts with NASA and SpaceX are targeting no earlier than Tuesday, April 20th for the launch of the second crew rotation mission with astronauts on an American rocket and spacecraft from the United States to the International Space Station. NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 mission will launch 4 astronauts aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft on a Falcon 9 rocket to the space station with the first mission to fly 2 international partner crew members as part of the agency's commercial crew program. NASA's astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur will serve as spacecraft commander and pilot, respectively. Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency JAXA astronaut Akihito Hoshii and ESA, European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquat will join as mission specialists. The mission will off Crew Complex, the Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew is scheduled for a long-duration stay at the orbiting laboratory, living and working as part of what is expected to be a 7-member crew. Crew 2 is also expected to arrive at the space station, overlap with the astronauts that flew to the station as part of the agency's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. Crew 1 with NASA's astronauts Michael Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker, along with the JAXA astronaut Tsuyoshi Noguchi, is currently scheduled for late April or early May. The Crew 2 astronauts are set to return in fall of 2021. NASA and SpaceX also continue preparations for the launch of the agency's Crew 3 mission, which is currently targeted for the fall of this year. Here's a story that Kelly brought you 2 weeks ago. NASA plans to conduct a second rerun hot fire test as early as the 4th week of February with the Space Launch System, or SLS, rocket core stage that will launch the Artemis 1 mission to the moon. The green run is a comprehensive assessment of the rocket's core stage prior to launching Artemis missions. Well, the first hot fire test marked a major milestone for the program with the firing of all 4 RS-25 engines together for the first time for about a minute. It had earlier been planned. After evaluating data from the first fire, and 7 NASA core stage lead contractor Boeing determined that the second long hot fire test should be conducted and would pose minimal risk while providing valuable data to help certify the core stage for flight. Inspections showed the core stage hardware, including its engines, B-2 test stand, were in excellent condition after the first hot fire test, and no major repairs are needed to prepare for the second hot fire test at NASA's Stennis Space Center in St. Louis, Mississippi. After the second hot fire test, it will take about a month to refurbish the core stage and its engines. Then, The Pegasus barge will transport the core station to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where it will be assembled with other parts of the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft being prepared for the Artemis 1 launch later this year. Mars 2020 Perseverance rover mission is just 19 days from landing on the surface of Mars. The spacecraft has about 22.9 million miles remaining in its 292.5 million mile journey and is currently closing that distance at 1.6 miles per second. Once at the top of the red planet's atmosphere, an action-packed 7 minutes of descent awaits, complete with temperatures equivalent to the surface of the Sun, a supersonic parachute inflation, and the first ever autonomous guided landing on Mars. Broadcast from Mission Control starts at 1:15 p.m. Central Time on February 18th. In space history this week, on January 24th, 1986, Voyager 2 was the first human-made object to fly by Uranus, made its closest approach on this day in 1986 at a range of about 50,640 miles. During this journey, Voyager 2 discovered 10 new moons, including Ophelia and Cordelia, named after the characters of William Shakespeare. Our one flyby so far yielded an amazing harvest of new information about this mysterious planet. This included reported wind speeds in the atmosphere of 450 miles per hour. This day, 2004, after nearly a 7-month-long journey, Mars exploration rover Opportunity landed on the red planet. Originally, scientists had planned Opportunity would explore the Martian terrain for 90 days, but the rover ended up with an extended stay and a mission lasted February 13, 2019. In its time on Mars, Opportunity collected evidence that long ago the planet had conditions that would have supported microbial life. On January 27, 1967, we lost 3 members of the NASA family in a flash fire during the ground test before the first planned Apollo mission. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were rehearsing for a planned launch on February 21st when the fire swept through the command module. They died within seconds. In the aftermath of this tragedy, a thorough analysis and review of all aspects of the Apollo program was conducted. The Accident Review Board determined an electrical arc in the equipment bay started the fire, which engulfed the high-pressure, pure oxygen-filled capsule in seconds. The review and investigation led to major changes in the Apollo system design, operations, management, and procedures. These changes made the Apollo spacecraft safer and allowed for the successful completion of 6 missions to the surface of the moon and safe operations of the moon of the Apollo system until it was retired after the 1975 Apollo-Soyuz mission. One of the many changes in response to the tragedy was the creation of an independent Office of Flight Safety and a personal dedication to safety that still inspires all of the NASA family today. On January 28, 1986, at 11:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The second space shuttle launch of the year, mission STS-51L, was to deploy the second tracking and data relay satellite and featured the flight of the first teacher in space. A failure of the right solid rocket booster led to an explosion that destroyed the spacecraft 73 seconds after launch. The 7 crew members were all killed in the accident. The crew included mission specialist Ellison S. Onizuka, Ron Mayer, Judy Resnick, teacher in space participant Sharon Christina McAuliffe, payload specialist Greg Jarvis, pilot Mike Smith, and Commander Dick Scobie. Astronaut birthdays. January January 24th, 1952 was William F. Reddy. He was part of STS-42, 51, and 79. January 1952, Mario Rucco Jr., STS-44, 54, and 77. January 28, 1939, John M. Sabian, STS-7 and STS-51G. January 28, 1950, David C. Hilmers, STS-51J, 26, 36, and 42. And then finally, January 29, 1979, Christina Koff, Expedition 59, 60, and 61. And that's the report for Miss Kelly, K5KTX, relayed by KE5ICX. Back to net control.
Thank you, KE5ICX, and thank you, K5KTX, for the wonderful write-up about what's going on. Brenda, WB50ZL, hey, it's up to you. Astronomical discoveries. Come now. You've got plenty of time. Take your time. Those folks that do this, afterglow thing, they could start at 11 o'clock. They're still going to go past midnight anyway. It's all yours, Brenda.
This is WB50ZL. The article tonight is entitled Mira's Last Journey, Exploring the Dark Universe. Unfortunately, there's no image because of this. FEMA physicists and computer scientists from the U.S. Department of Energy are gone to the National Laboratory performed one of the 5 largest cosmological simulations ever. Data from the simulation will inform Skynet to a leading large-scale cosmological experiment. The simulation, called Last Journey, follows the distribution of mass across the universe over time. In other words, how gravity causes a mysterious invisible substance called dark matter to clump together to form larger scale structures called halos within which galaxies form and evolve. Stand by. A lot of noisy, but I can't go any higher. There's a little I think the atmosphere. I apologize. I'll try to speak slowly and clearly. The scientists performed a simulation on Argonne's supercomputer Mira. The same team of scientists ran a previous cosmological simulation called Encounter Rim in 2013, just days after Mira turned on. After running simulations on the time series throughout a 7-year lifetime, the team marked Mira's retirement with the Last Journey simulation. The Last Journey demonstrates how far observational and computational technology has come in just 7 years, and it will contribute data and insight to experiments such as the Stage 4 ground-based cosmic microwave background experiment. S4. The legacy survey of space atoms carried out by the Rubin Observatory in Chile, the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, and NASA missions, the Roman Space Telescope, and SpearX. We're working with the tremendous volume of the universe, and we were interested in large-scale structures like regions of thousands or billions of galaxies, but we also considered dynamics of smaller scales. The Katrin Heitman, Deputy Division Director for Argonne's High Energy Physics, ATP Division. 6-month span to the Last Journey simulation and major analysis tasks presented unique challenges for software development and workflow. Adapted some of the same code used for the 2013 Outer Rim simulation with significant updates to make efficient use of Mira, an IBM Blue GPU system that was housed at the Argonne Leadership Computer Facility, ASC. CF, a DOE Office of Science User Facility. Specifically, the scientists used the hardware hybrid accelerated cosmology code, HACC, and its analysis framework, Cosmo tools, to enable incremental extraction of relevant information at the same time as the simulation was running. Running a fully feed is challenging because reading a massive amount of data produced by the simulation is computationally expensive. So you have to do a lot of analysis on the fly to hide. That's daunting because if you make a mistake with analysis settings, you don't have time to redo it. The team took an integrated approach to carry out the workflow during the simulation. Hacks would run the simulation forward in time, determining effective gravity on matter during large portions of the history of the universe. Once hack determines the computational particles representing the overall distribution of matter, Cosmo tools step in to record information, such as finding the billions of halos that host galaxies to use for analysis during post-processing. Well, we know where the particles are at a certain point in time. We characterize the structures that have formed by using Cosmo tools to store a subset of data to make further use down the line, said Adrian Pope, physicist and core hack Cosmo tools developer at Argonne's Computational Science Division. If we find dense quantum particles, that indicates the location of a dark matter halo, and galaxies can form inside these dark matter halos. Scientists repeated this integral process for hack moves particles and Cosmo tools analyzes and records specific data until the end of the simulation. The team then used features of Cosmo tools to determine what the particles were likely to host galaxies. For reference, around 100 to 1,000 particles represent a single galaxy in the simulation. We would move particles to analysis, new particles to analysis, said Pope. At the end, we would go back through the subsets of data that they carefully chose to store and run an additional analysis to gain more insight into the dynamics of structure formation, such as which halos merge together and which ended up orbiting each other. Using the optimized workflow with hack and Cosmo tools, the team ran the simulation in half the expected time. The last done simulation will provide data necessary for other basic cosmological experiments used when comparing observations or drawing conclusions about a host of topics. These insights could shed light on topics from cosmological mysteries, such as the role of dark matter and dark energy in the evolution of the universe, to the astrophysics of galaxy formation across the universe. This article goes on and on, so I'm going to quit there because it's 10:30. It is at ScienceDaily.com, so you can go and read the rest of it if you like. Back to that, this is WB5OZL.
You, Brenda, you were readable at first, and then it went downhill from there. It's not you. I'm sure it's the weather that's the problem. So, anyway, thank you so much. The last journey simulation. Okay, I'm recognizing KG5APL Patrick on Echolink. You wanted me to check him in. So, are there any last-minute check-ins? This is the final call for check-ins for Skynet. If you want to get credit for it tonight, come now with your call sign and your name and your location. Please do your call sign phonetically so I have time to write it down.
Kilo, Bravo, 9, Sierra, Oscar, Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Echo, Gene,
Hey, I've got Shane and I believe Sean. So KB9SOK and K5ANE, I believe, are the call fronts. One last call. Any node, radio, Echo Link. Come now if you want to get credit for Skynet.
Relay.
Relay, please come now.
I just wanted to mention some of your students over here freaking out. They want to know if they're going to get credit. Well, I think they don't need me to tell them that they're getting credit. They have to fill out their form. But Carissa is there and Bernice are there. They just wanted to say hi, and we're listening, even if we can't understand what you're saying. KE5ICX.
Oh, I hope you know what I'm saying. Okay, I was on medium high power. I think it was about 35 watts into the repeater, and I guess I have not that much noise. I'm surprised. Anyway, okay, we're not going to do satellite passages, but if you want to find out what's going on overhead to watch for satellites, go to heavens-above.com. Make sure you have your latitude, longitude, and your elevation or altitude, and you can find out exactly what's going on overhead any morning or evening. It's kind of cool. All right, we've got our check-ins, and yes, all those students, they've got to fill out their forms if they want to get credit, because they have to answer questions about what they've heard on Skynet tonight. Oh, there's Kane right there. Okay, I said Shane, it was Kane. Okay, tonight we had, I understand, 34 participating hams. So that's a question that the students have to answer. 34 hams participated on the air. Thank you to all who checked in on this evening. I hope all of you will join us here next week under different weather conditions and every Saturday night from 9 until 10:30 discussing astronomy, space explorations, and much more on this net. The sky is never the limit. We're always looking for new net control stations for this and all other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, if I can do this, anybody can, then contact any of our net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Don't do it yet. We're almost through, okay? Until next Saturday night, this is KF5JHA Chaz, your world net control, and I'll be closing the net at 22:35 and 5 seconds local time. Returning the repeater back to normal. Yeah, right, normal. Amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe and the Afterglow movie. Good night.
42, the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. This is Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Echo.
Oh, I want to have 42 on this net sometime. We are only at 34 tonight. Oh, well. 42 would have been a better number.
Roger, agreed. This is Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Echo, clear.
And we'll be back in 5 minutes for the sequel to the movie we watched last week, Man from Earth, Holocene, from 2017. Net controls, people who participate, people of Earth. Somebody has to be net control. Think about it, or else we'll call you out. This is Kate. Oh, by the way, and you may want to increase power a little bit. We're having some interference this evening, so increase power. Turn it up to 11. KE5ICX. We're back in 5 minutes.
thing on. Can anybody hear me? Tom says I'm supposed to be net control, but I don't know. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, nod your head, Tom.
Can hear you. Moments of sporadic static, and your radio is doing the static to GE5ICF.
My radio doesn't go up to 11. It only goes up to 10. So if this is good enough, then I'll attempt to play net control on 3 minutes notice. I'm on high power. He says increased power. Right, fine. Oh, all right. So hold on just a second. Yeah, so it's always amusing on the back channel. Brenda says, nobody has a good signal. Tom says, I noticed. I just got here. Tom says, guess what? You're net control. I'm like, I'm what? So apparently, I, 1790, am going to be impromptuing this because I didn't realize I was going to be net control. So if it's terrible, blame Tom. Which is what I normally suggest doing anyway, so nothing new there. I'm kind of rambling for a bit in case people have not figured out, that it's time for the Afterglow movie. And as many years as this has been going on, it seems like everybody would know by now. But anyway, it's the Afterglow movie, and I've been told, although I didn't actually get a chance to see it, that this week's movie was Man from Earth, Holocene, from 2017. And given that I only had about a minute and a half of, maybe 2 minutes, 2 minutes, before my curtain call here, I only came up with something really quick, and that is that John Oldsman, now 14,000 years old, apparently it's been a long time since the last time the movie, and teaching in Northern California, realizes that not only is he finally starting to age, but 4 students, the ones that he told last week, have discovered his deepest secret, which is something, I don't know. Apparently it's got people like Worf without his head thing is in it, and a whole bunch of other people I haven't know. Vanessa Williams, do I know Vanessa Williams? I don't know. And other folks. So that may be something of amusement and things to talk about. Have I rambled long enough for people to understand what's going on here, Tom? Have I timed out the repeater yet? Oh, you can't time out the repeater. Well, maybe I can. I don't know. It doesn't sound like I did. All right. Anyway, so this is our weekly movie thing, otherwise known as the Afterglow movie, where we get together and we talk about a movie. Frequently, mostly, usually, science fiction. Not always. Sometimes it's something else. Often it's a terrible movie. Sometimes it's a good movie. Never can tell. Sometimes it's movies I didn't know that I would like, but I watched them and I liked them. And sometimes it's movies that I'll just never get that 2 hours of my life back. Anyway, so let me see. Blah, blah, blah. I'm supposed to talk for a couple of minutes and let everybody get settled. Get your nice, warm, cool beverage, frosty beverage. Not too hot outside. Or too cold outside. Anyway, if you don't know what next week's movie is, then join the club because I have no idea either. But you can look on Facebook, which is Afterglow Space movie. And it's a nice group on Facebook, so they come out to Facebook. Or you can send a note to Tom at K5ICX, and he'll put you on the list and send you out maybe some kind of thing that he comes up with. It's probably more entertaining than what I've already read. I didn't read much because there's not much about this. I did see something about, some kind of big piracy bill for somebody that was uploading this, but that was a different page I was looking at, I think. Anyway, so KE5ICX, he'll put you on the list, he'll send you something, maybe. Sometimes he doesn't send it out until Friday afternoon, but usually he's pretty good about it. Alright, I think I've talked long enough. It's probably time for check-ins or something like that. So, turn your radio up to 11, maybe 12, to get through static, and give it a try. First in line, no pushing.
This is N5DB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving, and yes, I did see the movie.
I figured everybody knows, you're supposed to tell me your name, call sign, and whether or not you saw the movie.
Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom, Louisville, yeah, I saw the movie.
Hello, 5, Alpha, November, Echo. This is Kane and Richardson.
Is that a yes or a no?
Oh, yeah, I saw the movie, K580.
Next!
Oh, Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar, Kilo. Sean in Fort Worth, yes, I seen the movie. Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto, yes, I saw the movie.
Oh, 5, Oscar Sierra Hotel, didn't see the movie.
And what was your name? Was that K5 Oscar Sierra Hotel?
The name here is Russ, R-U-S-S, and I did not see the movie.
Thanks, sir. Next in line, please.
It's Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Oklahoma. I did not see the movie.
Anybody on Echo line?
Michael, James up in Oklahoma was there, N5BB.
Again, James.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman, yes, I saw the film.
And Mr. Tom filled me in about James. I'll put him on the list. since the list seems to be, or the list seems to be cutting short. Let's see, N5BB, Miss Bill, yes. K5ICX, Tom, yes. K5A&E, Kane, yes. KB9SOK, Sean, Fort Worth, yes. Miss Brenda, yes. Miss Billy, yes. Russ and James both no. Make a note. Alright, well, since I'm totally unprepared, I'm going to let you people do all the work. That's the joy of being net control. So, Miss Bill, what do you have to say about the plot for Man from Earth, Holocene? Take it away.
Hi, this is N5BB. Well, it was obviously just an extension of the plot from the movie we saw last week, and he's yet at a different location and moving on. There's a little bit of violence at the end of the movie. And I was confused as far as the plot went. I don't think they were very clear about exactly what was happening right near the end of the movie. They did not let us know what happened to the kid that plunged the knife into John. He just disappeared. And John seems to be going and visiting the family of one of the guys that was in the previous movie. I think this plot was a little thin. And predictable. I mean, the kids, the college kids are all trying to figure out what was going on. And I don't know. To me, they could have written a little bit better plot. It just extended things further. And it didn't really explain much more about the main character, John. The character development that was done in the first movie wasn't really continued in this one. We'll talk about character later, but so, I don't know. I guess it was a sequel, and it was kind of a weak one. Again, they left all kinds of holes right into the movie so they could make yet another sequel. They could keep on going for 11,000 years making sequels in 5BB.
And this is WT9B, your host for our little chat around the fire, or light, or whatever your warm radiant, I don't know. I kind of lost it there. So next on my list of victims is K5ICX, Tom, who didn't wait long enough for everybody else to check in. So take it away, Tom, from WT9B.
Sometimes I just kind of, get to the front of the line. I usually wait till the end of the line and then say, they're right or they're wrong or whatever, depending on how it all works out. Here's the thing. I really liked last week's movie. I really did. I thought it was quite interesting. I love films where they're more like stage plays than films, and last week's movie was exactly that. It all took place pretty much in one room. And this was a continuation of that with some flourishes outside. People were allowed outside to take film. and to make it work. There were elements of it that did not work. Of course, this one is at the disadvantage because it's a sequel, number one. Number two, it's done by the son of Jerome Bixby and not Bixby himself. Therefore, you're going to get subject to some other interpretation. I kind of do a parallelism with 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I thought was one of the greatest films ever made, and 2010, not, what is it, 2010, the year we made contact, but not one of the best movies ever made. This really mirrors that. Get the joke? Mirror, mirror, mirror. Jerome Bixby wrote that. Never mind. In any case, the idea of the possibility that John is something else, he's moved on, and what happens? He's now, what was his name, Youngman or something? Let me reset. It was John Young. In this case, he's still a college professor, and he's got this groupie following, women that like him, and the men who think he's intellectually smart. And I don't know what that all means in the end. We have a Nancy Drew type thing going on, or a, what is it, a Scooby-Doo thing, where they try and unmask the guy trying to take over everything. In this case, it'd be John. That was somewhat sophomoric. I didn't like that part. But what I did like is that, you know, Scooby-Doo style, John is duct taped up down in the basement in the chair, and the religious kid comes up and says, you think you're Jesus Christ? Well, yeah. And then they conflate Buddhism and, not Buddhism, was it Buddha? Buddha, which really isn't a religion. It's a philosophy, so I didn't get that part, but I don't know, you need religious experts on that one. And all the things that went along with it. And of course, the inevitable that he could be something other than Christ, but the Antichrist, that came at the end. And now John has some second thoughts about the fact, because he doesn't know why he's eternal either. And I thought that was interesting. That was a nice play, I thought. I can reset. It's a little bit melodramatic. I have to admit, and I mentioned this last week, I kind of like that, the intellectualism and the conversation going back and forth. We missed that with college professors speaking back and forth last week. This one was the college students doing the same thing, the unusually bright kids in it, but lacking experience, lacking a gravitas from being around long enough, because they're all 20-somethings, and therefore their comments are insightful but without experience. So everything is kind of on an intellectual level, except for the one fellow who has a religious pining on this, and in which case he's the one that pushes it forward. And again, these are metaphors for what happens in life and people and their thoughts and all of that. And I kind of enjoyed that, because you can jump away from the interaction going on and think about yourself and how that all plays in, and other people that you know. And I think really good storytelling does that. They are the type of thing that really pushes the envelope of thought. This movie didn't come anywhere close to the first film, but I did enjoy it. So I give the first film a 9, even though nobody else did. I'll give this one about a 4.5 or 5 C average overall, but I do like some of the conversation that they had. We'll continue on later. KE5ICX.
Before. Of course, I don't think I've ever transmitted for that long on high power before, because 5 watts normally does me fine. My radio kind of got warm. Like, by the time I kind of wondered about it, it was about 110 and cooling at that point, because Weaverville, one of the one or the other, or both of you were talking. Well, not the same time, but anyway, I'm warming it back up. Hello, radios get warm. Like news or something, I don't know. That's why there's a fan in the back of this thing. Anyway, alright, so, K580, Kane, Richardson. Turn your radio up to 11. See if yours gets warm too. From WT9V. Yeah, this movie being a sequel, it was definitely interesting comparing it to the original one and seeing, what they changed, because it seems like this time they probably had a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more funding or something, I don't know, bigger budget to play with than the first one, seeing as how it actually has multiple locations. Gasp. Isn't that incredible? But, yeah, it's, there are things about the plot that I like more about this movie, and then some things that I liked less about this movie compared to the original. So the original one, it all takes place in just the cabin pretty much, and so there's not a lot of, I don't know, action or things actually happening. It's just a lot of, discussion, and, sometimes movies like that can be nice, but, it's sometimes also nice to actually have interesting things happening in your, hour and a half long movie or whatever. So, it was a nice change of pace that there's, actually things happening, that, there's, some real end goal in mind here that, everything's kind of moving towards. But ultimately, in the end there, it just kind of, some things happen, and then you're not really entirely sure what happens from there. And it definitely seemed like this movie was, trying to continue on this, I don't know, creating a franchise of these kinds of movies or something, and making a third, and maybe a fourth, and a fifth, and a 277th or something, I don't know. Though it seems kind of plain. The original one, they're at least talking about a new, well, at least, somewhat new concept to me. I hadn't heard of these other sci-fi books, like, I'm actually like halfway through the audiobook on it, the Million Year Vessel or whatever, Million Year Ship. That's radically more interesting and exciting than the plots of both of these movies combined. I highly recommend checking that out. It was a recommendation last week. So it's always interesting. Now I'm like watching this and seeing like, well, like, does this really get that much more interesting than, this, audiobook I've been listening to? And yeah, it seems like it's a neat concept that they could probably have stretched out further and added more interesting stuff to. And I think this one is definitely more captivating as far as like things actually happening and holding your attention, but it's also less, I don't know, deep in many ways as far as the ideas and thoughts that they're trying to share with you. And ultimately, the big main question of this is, why is he now aging? I never really, I don't know, express it, and I've tried digging a little bit under the surface to try and understand what exactly, other than saying that it's no longer the Holocene, it's, the Anthropocene, and it's like, well, okay, but, like, why does that suddenly mean that he's now aging? I don't know. Didn't quite get the plot in the end, so, yeah, that's always a big negative there. Anyways, this is K5A&E, back to net. It came to my attention. Actually, I thought of it that I may have rambled a lot at the beginning, and without IDing myself, although I didn't have a timer. So this is WT9V, and I repeat, WT9V. Don't anybody tell the repeater trustees that I may possibly have talked too long. Don't tell Randy, because he'll rat on me. Anyway, so, yes, KP9SOK, Sean from WT9V. What kind of thoughts do you have about the plot of Man from Earth, Hodosteen, sir? Take it away, Sean.
This is KP9SOK. Yeah, it's kind of like we both said. The first movie, I actually did enjoy the first one.
I would have gave it probably a solid 7.5 or an 8. But I did really enjoy the first one. This one, not so much, to be honest. Seems like the first 50 minutes was really, really slow. Just kind of somewhat repeating what had already happened. And it started to pick up a little bit later, but it seems like, once again, like everybody said, we've not really advanced the story here. Basically, they repeat everything that we heard in the first movie. And so the elderly lady, now we've got this young man that's having the same problem she had with it and kind of asking similar questions. And once again, we really just kind of stuck to the religion part of it. Didn't really explore much else outside of that. So I was disappointed with that, actually. Really the movie summed up by pretty much the last probably 5 sentences of the movie, where the character from the last movie, I can't remember his name, basically stated that, yes, we've now permanently damaged the Earth beyond repair, and John comes back with, well, that explains it, and they more or less insinuate that's why he is, dying. And, really the last 2 minutes pretty much cover what the whole movie was about. I was really disappointed with that. And two, I found it a little disturbing that the young man that stabbed John come to that conclusion so easily. I get that he was strong in his faith, and he thought that maybe this was the Antichrist. But could you really come to that determination in a 5-minute conversation that would lead you to stab somebody? It's a little ridiculous to me that you'd come to that so quickly. And it just seems extreme that, then the other student that tased him, would you really go those extremes just to find out? I mean, it just seems odd. Yeah, you definitely tell this was not written by the original writer. And it just, to me, this one was pretty rough. And the plot, it just wasn't a good flow to it. Like the first one, I thought at least had a steady, climb through the whole process, where this was just kind of jumping around all over the place. That's all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Alrighty, thank you very much. In relation to that ish, the piracy thing that I saw earlier wasn't a fine or anything. Basically, there's an article that says if you can't beat them, join them. That's what the independent producers of The Man from Earth, Holocene, concluded about the inevitable piracy of their sci-fi film. So, 2 months before its April 3 release on digital, they uploaded it to the Pirate Bay themselves. Available in 1080p and spread it to other services. The video is bookended by an appeal from director-producer Richard Schaefman to consider donating some money if they watch the movie. If you like it, support it, and remember that sharing is caring. So, as of, when was it? April 6th, 2018, which was, they uploaded it themselves on January 15th. They made $45,000 in donations. And apparently this was prompted because the original movie, whenever it came out, it hit the unauthorized distribution networks, shall we say. Their reviews on IMDb shot up really high, and they got a fair number, like 20% of the film's budget in donations, because they put a donation link on their webpage. So, who knew? I didn't. Anyway, WB5, owes that out. Linda, what do you have to say? I should let my pre-kill cool down.
This is WB5OZL. Well, I liked this one better than the first one. I'd probably give this one a 9 and the first one a 7. Although I liked them both a lot, and actually would like to see them both again. I think the first one was just too much of him, trying to convince everybody he was this 14,000-year-old man. But this one, that was sort of a given, and then there was an awful lot of intellectual discussion, which I found fascinating. I was not happy with the ending. Well, I have mixed feelings about it. You know, on the one hand, there's this mystique of what happened. We don't know. We'll leave it to our imagination. The other one was, it's kind of like they didn't know what to do with it, so they ended it sloppily. The explanation that, oh well, it's a new epoch, so you're dying. That doesn't make any sense. You know, why? He survived 14,000 years of who knows what. I don't know why he would suddenly begin to age. And he's aging quickly. We don't really know why. And of course we have the unresolved issues with the idiot kids. We never see them again. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know how he got out of his restraints and what happened to the kid that stabbed him. There's just a real gap there, and I kind of didn't like that. I would like to have seen a little more explanation. Otherwise, I'll just have to imagine it myself. So it's just a fascinating concept, and I thought the actor did a pretty good job of it. So, alright, I'll have more for later. WB50ZL.
Correct. And it's pretty obvious, you know, he's been around for 14,000 years, and all of a sudden, you know, modern times, he's, you know, aging and dying, gets processed food. All right. The KF5 PBS, really, what do you have to say for the man part? It's really helpful and calm to put this up on the screen so I can tell what it is I'm supposed to be talking about. Take it away, Miss Billy, from WT90.
Great, thank you, Michael, and good evening, everybody. Yeah, I like these movies for different reasons. I'm kind of like with Kane, you know, this movie has more action and actually shows him in, you know, in his daily, you know, teaching, and I like the interactions with the students, you know, seeing him at the school. You know, it's not all just, you know, I like the first one because it is kind of a good character study, you know, almost like a 1 or 2 act play, you know, with the same characters in the same scene, and you're really just exploring with dialogue and wordplay, and as he said in the beginning film, you know, they're enjoying this analytical stretch of concepts and really wrestling with it and picking it apart, and, you know, you could see professors doing that, and this movie was a good contrast. It's hard to talk about plot without characters, but, you know, this was more impulsive because the characters were, you know, young people. And like Tom said, they're not as experienced. They come to conclusions. They make rash judgments. And I agree with Brenda that, you know, the end was kind of sloppy. But again, you know, these are kids. You know, it's like it's to me, it's, you know, they're you know, trying to deal with this situation, and they're trying to bring in like Art Jenkins. There's a good kind of cat and mouse suspense at the end. It's like, will Art catch up with John? Will they actually? And and it's good suspense, you know, right up to the moment when Art arrives on the scene. John's gone, and you know, just kind of kept that tension going. So I enjoyed that, even though it seemed hurried and like they weren't sure what to do with it. But I do like the tie-in back to the original character when Harry came and found him out. It's like, how did he get in touch with him? That to me, you know, they left some, you know, some things not resolved, I guess, to the imagination. It's like, you know, John's out in the middle of nowhere. How would he call Harry and tell him where to be? And, you know, stuff like that. It just seemed unclear, but I was glad that they tied it back to an original character and having him go off to, you know, meet his dad. You know, Harry's dad wasn't doing so good, and took John off to, you know, go, you know, that could be like John's next mission is to, you know, console people, you know, that are dying, you know, to show his long life and what he's done with it, and the fascination of longevity of life. Maybe that could be John's new mission in life. So I thought that was really an interesting way to leave it. It left questions, and I just liked it for different reasons. I liked that it was out in the world and showing him living life and interacting with people, and how kind of gives you an idea of how his interactions could have been like as he was coming up and interacting and moving on and interacting and moving on. And I just thought it was really interesting to see him out in the world, teaching and doing his thing. So I like them both for different reasons. I do like the first movie slightly better because I do feel like the story was more cohesive and didn't jump around. It was a very steady course and kind of this, slow moving to this conclusion and left you guessing. And this one did it too, but it did it in a more impulsive and rash way, and I think that was just because of the nature of the characters. So, again, I'll leave comments for characters till the next round. So this is KF5PDS. Back to you.
Thank you very much. And now I suppose I should ask if there are any other people out there that would like to check in to tonight's movie net talking about the Man from Earth photo scene. Anybody out there? Please come now. Call sign, name, location if you like, and whether or not you saw this fine film, maybe? I'm not sure if it's fine or not. Haven't decided. Is a no. So, Russ or James, either one of you have any comments at this point? If so, chime on in.
This is KG5PM, James in Oklahoma. No, I don't have any comments, but it doesn't sound like it'd be a whole lot more enjoyable than the last movie was. I wasn't real big fan of the way the last movie went, so don't know. It's hearing maybe a little bit more action in this one, but we'll maybe have to check it out later. Back to the net, KG5PM.
Into that, I will take that under advisement, sir. And once again, we'll try for N5TV. Bill, what do you have to say about characterization?
This is N5TV. Well, unfortunately, I don't think we really learned much more, really, about the main character, protagonist, John. He has the same impulses, the way he talks about his life and the way that he has this itch to move on, so he doesn't have to explain his non-aging and his life history to people. Is just the same. He doesn't grow or change out of that. And his girlfriend, again, he doesn't find a good way of telling her why he's leaving. And so that's kind of unsatisfying there. We learn a little bit about her, but not a lot. That she's a professor and is respected, but we don't talk about her feelings very much. There's one scene, but that's about it. So that character isn't really developed too far. As far as the kids go, we have kind of this one-sided view of them. We have the view of them when they're together plotting what they're going to do. We don't have any real understanding of those characters outside, away from there. But we get a little bit of an idea about them. There's one girl that has got her own personal problems, and so she goes in and tries to make a move on John in his office, which seems really an ugly thing to do. And I didn't understand why that was thrown in there. I don't think that scene really does very much justice to college kids. And to me, it was a bit of a gratuitous kind of scene put in there. I don't think it was needed. What else? We learn a bit about the other kids. One thing that bothered me was that they seemed to have no compunction about entering John and his girlfriend's, or I guess it was her house, and just rifling through everything. They go through the whole house and all the rooms, look through their personal papers, look through all kinds of things. Just an invasion of privacy, and they didn't seem to have any personal problem with that. It's like they went to their house in order to do that, and for some strange reason, the rear door was unlocked. It seemed a little bit unsafe. If the door had been locked, what were they going to do? Break in? Jimmy the door? What if they had a burglar alarm? So I did not understand, I guess at a really basic level, I guess I saw their motivations, but I didn't understand what they were really planning on doing there. That seemed like a bad plan, and it bothered me about that part of the characterization. There near the end of the movie, the very religious student, I don't know, that bothers me also. I agree with Tom. It seemed to me to be too fast for this guy to suddenly think he's going to possibly kill. And he's torn between, is this, the Christ or the Antichrist? And I don't know. I didn't understand what he thought he was going to do. What also bothered me was, number one, the guy with the stun gun, that was crazy. Why did he do that? And then when John's laying there bleeding, they don't really call an ambulance. I mean, I guess they thought that the religious kid called one. But, they should have been more diligent about that. They kind of ran off. They didn't help him much. And then when they came back and found the remnants of the interrogation or whatever, initially the older guy said, "We got to call the police," but he doesn't follow through. Their little weak arguments went out, so there's no moral compass there. So the kids break into the house. Essentially, they go in and rifle through everything, and then in the end, John could be just a regular guy that's been killed or being killed or kidnapped, and they don't come to his rescue. That bothered me. It bothered me a lot. So the characterization part, I was just bothered by the moral compass of a lot of these characters. I guess that's my thought. N5BB.
KE5ICX from WT9B.
Michael, this is KE5ICX. You know, I think Bill really hit it. I can't really add any more to the characterization. I agree with him wholeheartedly that the characters themselves, particularly the students, had no empathy, or they were interested. They wanted to find out more about him, but they had no moral compass. They'd break in, they would do things, rifle through. But what is the ultimate motivation? That is where I think the writing should have come in, and the fact that the real actors are kids anyway, so they don't know how to create any sort of emotional fortitude in the movie where the characterization is somewhat benign. So I agree with him on that one a lot. And that's why you have actors that make lots of money and actors who don't make any money, is how you can pull out of the material or pull out of your own self the ability to make something really look convincing and interesting. And I think that was one of the problems here. I was pleasantly surprised with Michael Dorn as Dr. Parker in this. He was a nice character. He was nicely portrayed by Dorn. We're so used to seeing Michael play, Worf in Star Trek and overacting, and you know the guy is way better than that as an actor. But his acting abilities are way overshadowed by the character Worf in Star Trek. And so it's always nice when you can get somebody outside of the shell that has been created for them, not even a cocoon, but a cement sarcophagus. That means that you're just going to play the same character over and over again. Parker was an interesting character. He was fun to watch, and he was a nice, not necessarily a foil to Young, or Oldman, depending on which way you want to do it. But he provided a kind of a steady rudder through the whole thing, which was nice to see. I'm confused. Another Star Trek alumnus, John Billingsley, played Harry in this. We saw him in the first film, and he was very much aware, and that was the plot twist. We found out that Oldman knew much more about him and his father and all the things that went on. He couldn't possibly have been the age that he was and know very personal things about his family and his father. So I thought that was interesting in the first film and very telling. In this case, he gets in the, the mystery machine with everybody else, Scooby-Doo and the gang, and they go and look for him. And in the end, did we find him? No. The mystery machine disappeared in a mystery with all the kids. What happens next? I don't know. So that was a bit of a flop in the end. He was still a good character, I guess, but I don't know. One of the things that was interesting in this is that I read some of the notes, and they wanted to make this into a series. Bad idea. If you're going to do a series, that means that you're going to take away a lot of the key factors, because you're not making a movie, you're making a series. We're going to spoon-feed you stuff. And that's probably one of the reasons why this movie itself was so weak. Is he the Antichrist? Is he 666? Is he God? No, I'm just a man, but you're an immortal man. That, all that stuff gets conflated into everything, and you start wondering, what do you want to do with this thing? And lastly, let me reset. You start doing that, you mess with your characters. and you create mysteries that have to be solved later on. Now, the first movie was a mystery, but it should have ended, just like 2001: A Space Odyssey, it should have ended with that. It should have ended with the Star Child and you figure it out. Instead, they made 2010. This film falls along that same that same path. What do you want to do? And you have a central character that is really matters and picked up a lot of support after the first film. Let's make a sequel. Be careful what you wish for, because in this case, it didn't pan out. And now you want to make a series, so the characters are further diminished. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It reminds me of, television series that jump the shark. The characters aren't interesting anymore because they can't develop because you got to keep the thing going. Well, this one has a thin enough storyline, thin enough characterization that you can't take it further and make it interesting. And I don't know. Let me reset one more time. This is, to me, one of those movies where you deliberately cripple yourself and you cripple your characters in such a way that you can't progress forward without a lot of luggage or a lot of, what do you describe it, presupposed mystery that doesn't exist. Tell the story, finish the story, end the story. The characters get better somehow, or worse, or they learn something. Don't make it such a mystery that we can't say we got something out of it. And in this case, I didn't get something out of it. The first one I did. I kept thinking about the film. The second one was interesting with a few comments, but the characters were stalled, and some of them just completely disappeared. So I'm kind of angry about that. I'm going to slam my pen down now. Okay, I'm done. KE5ICX.
Alrighty then. Couple of comments. One, I think there was already a series about this, only it was a lot more fun, and it had swords and blood and death and stuff, but whatever. And your comment about 666 just brings up the old joke about 666 or 668, the neighbor of the beast. Anyway, K5ANE from WT9D. Tell us something amusing, sir, or insightful, or something. In a lot of, both movie and just overall narrative critique, a lot of people tend to focus on the idea of, character growth. There has to be character growth in the movie or something like that. The character needs to change from the beginning to the end. And, and then it's kind of a debated thing. And you don't really need to have character growth to necessarily tell a good story. Batman doesn't necessarily grow all the time throughout all the different movies and shows and things like that we've had Batman. Batman's still Batman. Superman's still Superman in many ways, right? But, you can still have a good story and have interesting things happen without character growth. It's not necessarily the most important thing of, telling a story. That said, if you're not going to have character growth, then you really kind of need to have something, actually really interesting going on in the story itself. And, I don't know, it seems like these characters were, they I guess, kind of had a little bit of growth, but they were just, I don't know, just, in the end, maybe that was a part of it, was that they were just trying to critique, young people in society these days that, don't really know where they're going or what they're doing or why they're doing what they're doing. They're just doing things. But that seemed to be like what at least the college students were. Any of the other characters didn't really seem like they really mattered too much. And then
the our millionaire man, he's still just trying to survive and be his normal self, and is the same guy that we met for the most part, just now older, strangely, but we don't know why. It just seems strange, and I don't know. I'm a little bit frustrated with the trope of the young people that have no idea what they're any idea of actual morals or things like that. You have the one guy that's the uptight Christian is the guy that also stabs the guy, and it's like, well, okay. And these other people that are, they start off as, strongly agnostic or something like that, and then suddenly like cling to something, it's like the entire time they're probably trying to cling to something, some kind of idea, and the shiniest thing at the moment is what they end up clinging to. So, I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating, and the characters weren't the best characters that I've seen in a movie, that's for sure. This is K5A&E, back to net.
Thank you, Kane. And next on my list is KB9SOK. Sean, what you got for us about characterization, WT90?
I don't really have a lot to add, to be honest. I am a little disappointed at the beginning that we didn't find out about one character that wasn't even in this movie. The girlfriend that ran off with him in the last movie. It would have been nice if they at least spent 30 seconds saying what happened to her. Well, that didn't work out, because that was kind of the one nice little thing about, the last movie there at the end, that he did let her run off with him. So I've been curious to see why that didn't work. I was disappointed with that. We did see a different side of John in this one, which was kind of nice, I think, because in the first movie, he seemed very cold, very, stiff, and didn't, show much emotion. But in this one, at least he did, have his best friend, his boss, it seemed like they were, he did show, obviously some emotions with him, and then, we actually seen some real emotion from him in this one. Maybe not a ton, but we did see something there. So I thought that was a little bit nice. But other than that, like everybody said, very disappointed with the college kids, how those characters were portrayed. Because, I just can't believe all four would be that irresponsible and do all the things that they did. I totally get them wanting to try to solve the mystery, find out who he is, but to go to the extremes that they did just seems a little over the top. I was really disappointed that. And I do agree with Bill that I don't know why the one girl they threw her character in there. That made no sense at all either. I get her having a little bit of a crush. We've seen that in many movies to where there's a girl that has a crush on the professor. But why? That was just extra. I think that really was just filler. And I do think towards the end of the movie, I'm wondering if they cut some scenes because of time. Because it does seem like they didn't really finish things up. We never did find out what happened to those college kids, especially the one that stabbed the John. What happened to him? What happened when his girlfriend came home and found, the blood in the basement? And, surely she would have called the police and there would have been further, stuff going on. And what was really strange, which I forgot to mention earlier, was if you actually watch the movie past the end of the credits, you actually seen a police officer come in and talk to, the other professor, asking him, what was going on, and, insinuated that he's been trying to solve these serial killer mysteries, and he's more or less insinuating that it was John that was, the serial killer. So that was really weird that they threw that in at the end, and I don't know if that was kind of like what Tom was talking about. That's what they thought was going to kick off the series, was this cop was going to start chasing John across the country, thinking that he was a serial killer when he wasn't. If you haven't seen it, go back and go to the very, very, very end of the credits, and then there's like a little 5-minute scene there, and I think they were pushing for a series with that, and I'm glad they didn't do the series. I think Tom Pruitt covered why that'd been a bad idea, and I agree. That's really all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Thank you very much. And next, WP5. Hello, Ms. Brenda. What do you have about characterization and things like that from WT90?
W5OZL. I think there's a high expectation for an actor to play somebody who's really different. But I think he does it. In the first movie, he didn't seem so extraordinary, but he did in the second movie, to me. Everybody just says, oh, there's just something about him. And, yeah, that was true. So, the hippie school kids, they lacked a lot of judgment. And, you just, to the point where you just want to get lost. They became annoying after a while. And his other friends, I liked seeing Michael Dorn and John Billingsley. So there was a lot of interesting characters in it. It is hard to figure out what the main characters feel like because we've never had anybody like this before. I've thought a lot about this. What would I be doing or saying if it was me? And I don't know, really. I don't know how I feel. I think it's kind of sad that he didn't let his girlfriend in on any of this. Just, I gotta go. Well, he had told Dad, but of course she didn't believe it. Just like everybody said, I'm never gonna get married. I'm never gonna have kids. She never thought it was true, and then he takes off. He needed to think about what happens when the cops come. We got this person here, and also these kids to show up there. I think he could have explained a little more to her, or perhaps he could have said, I'm going to go away for a while, I'll be back, I'll send for you. In the first movie, the girlfriend who took off with him, never heard about her again, but she knew his story. Why couldn't this girlfriend have known a little more about his story? But she was interesting. I liked her. Okay, back to Ned, W5OZL.
Alrighty then. And next up is KF5 PBS, Miss Billy. What you got for us, Miss Billy? WT9?
Great. Yeah, I agree with what's been said. I didn't like the portrayal of the college students as impulsive, like stalker type kids with no respect for other people's property. Yeah, I agree. They just barged in, started rifling through everything. I was like, wow, no respect there. And they were very stalky, and John even points that out. He even says, okay, you guys are, y'all are stalking me. And they just kept pressing and pressing until finally we have this violent end, which, just seemed very hurried and not very well thought out. But, I didn't like that portrayal. I also wondered, too, about the woman he was with at the end of the first film. It's like, has it just been more than 10 years and we are to just assume that he's already moved on from her and we're into this next phase, this next relationship, and how far into it are we there? And was it, his moving on cut short because the kids found out who he was and were really trying to press him, and he's going to just up and run away, to move on ahead of schedule? And he even insinuated that he was like going to leave, the girlfriend some money, and she's like, I don't want your money, I want you. Like he could just buy her off and she'd be okay with that. She is a very strong, independent, intelligent woman, and I like the fact that she just said, you know what, I'm just going to leave and go somewhere for a while, and when I come back, you just need to not be here. I just was like, dang, she really, read him the act right there. I was like, that, I actually liked her character for that, but you could tell they had more funding, because they got Vanessa Williams and Michael Dorn, and I too liked Michael Dorn's character. I thought it was a good contrast to John, you know, where John's always picking up and moving on and having very superficial relationship. Michael Dorn's character, you know, he mentions that they've had, you know, new baby addition to the family, and I don't know if he was a grandparent, and he was just super proud of that and wanting to share that with John. And of course, you know, John, you know, couldn't really talk about, you know, his kids because of his situation, and plus he said it was very difficult to talk about, and I think that was because he had witnessed his grown son die, you know, in the first film, and so it made it very poignant for John to, you know, he couldn't really share anything about his family, you know, what children he's had, and without tipping off who he was or, you know, the nature of his existence. And so I thought that was very poignant. You know, I thought it was nice that John had a friend in the department and you know, professor that, you know, was a colleague that cared for John, but John just couldn't seem capable of returning anyone's affection because he would be moving on in 10 years, you know, so it was sad to see that and learn, you know, see more of that interaction happen. But I wish they had involved a few more characters. I mean, it was cool they did flashbacks, but those were just very fleeting flashbacks. You'd have thought they would have had maybe a few more if they were going to do that and not just sprinkle in like one, or, you know, I think they just sprinkled in like one flashback. And it's like, well, I don't know if they really needed to do that, you know, or I wish they would have had like a few more accidental meetings of him and the first characters. It would have been neat for him to run into the anthropologist again. Dan, I liked his character the most out of the first film, so I thought that would have been cool. I actually would have wanted to have seen a showdown between John and Art Jenkins, you know, instead of him just arriving at the scene and John was gone, you know, but I don't know, maybe that was part of the sequel thing. They were going to have them like chasing each other in this kind of cat and mouse. You know, like he would always be one step ahead of him, and he wouldn't ever quite catch up to him until the finale of the series or something. And I too thought that was weird at the end. I thought that was very uncool of Arthur to insinuate that John was a serial killer, that he'd be capable of anything. When he is in the background of that scene, when he's trying to, you know, paint John in this unfavorable light, you can see that he stole his Van Gogh. The Van Gogh painting is in Arthur's house, sitting right behind him in the same shot, right when he's trying to, you know, send the guy off in the direction on John and paint him in this unfavorable light while he's got this stolen painting sitting right behind him. I just was like, wow. I thought that was really very uncool of his character. But I did like, you know, that he kind of lived off to himself and had a little potbelly pig as a pet. I don't know, that just was kind of funny in a way. You know, it's like here he had written this book and gotten laughed out of academia, so he just goes out and gets a house, lives out in the middle of nowhere with a garden and a little potbelly pig following him around. It just was comical. I like that little potbelly pig. And if you look at the credits, the potbelly pig's name is Betsy Bacon, and I was just like, oh no, don't name her that. She's too cute for that. But yeah, I you know, there were things I liked about it, but the characterization, again, they could have developed more in all directions, and it would have made for a much richer film. So anyway, I'll return it to you, Michael. This is KF5PDS, back to now.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty. I guess it's time to see if there's anybody else out there that wants to hop in and talk about this that's not already on my list. So I'll give you a moment in case anybody wants to check in. Name, call sign. Whether you saw The Mills, the movie from WC9V, call Net Control now. Yes, that's me, Net Control. All
take that as a no. So last time I took that as a no, somebody started talking. So, Infon TV, what do you have to say about special effects and or, I don't know if there were any special effects in the movie, or other things? What you got? Wrap it all up, Bill. WT90.
BB. Well, I had no idea there was additional action after those credits rolled. Oh man, what a bummer. Now I'm going to have to go back and look at it again and go to the end. I had no idea. That might change some of my attitude about the whole movie, because I thought that when the credits started, you know, the movie was finished. John was going off with the guy to go and deal with the guy's dad, and I just didn't understand that there was anything after that. So, oh well. Sure, there was a special effect. There was duct tape, and then there was a knife that was inserted into the body, a fake knife of some kind. But that's the only special effects. And there's a little bit of blood. That's about, and broken furniture. But that was about it as far as special effects. I don't know. I wish they had resolved things better at the end. And I wish that, you know, this movie is not from John's point of view. Neither one is. It's from another point of view. And it's not really from, it's like these other people that are questioning him and it's from their point of view. It's this kind of external, curious point of view. It'd be interesting if the movie had been done from John's point of view, and you got to see what his thinking was about these things going on, and how he was threatened, and what he was planning on doing, and what he had done before, maybe going back in his memory, what had happened since the previous movie. I think it would be more interesting if the second movie had been from his point of view, his memories, his future plans. But they just showed him going out and, you know, being in the wild and, you know, making some flip flakes. And that was the only way of getting into his mind. Would have been much better, I think, if the movie had been from his point of view. Yes, that's all I got in 5BB.
And thank you, Bill. And it brings us around to Tom for his semi-final thoughts. Mr. Tom, what you got for us? WT90.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Semi-final thoughts. I know what that means. Either there's another round or I don't have clear thoughts, but you already knew that. Let's see. There was... what was I going to say? Jeez, now you said that, and it threw me out over here. Maybe they are semi-final thoughts. Hang on. Really, it threw me out into left field. I was trying to think about what I was going to say, and I had it, and I kind of wrote it down in ways I couldn't even read. But all right, let me just finish with this. The film itself, I thought started out promising. It looked really interesting. About the first third of it was engaging, and what was going to happen with John. The second half of the film, or the second, let's say this, the second third of the film had to do with the mystery machine and getting the characters to find out more about John, Oldman or Young. And then the third part of it had to do with the dramatic, whatever was happening with the kids and religion and all of that. It kind of didn't work ultimately, and it kind of fell flat, which is part of the plot, but atmospherically, there wasn't anything that was really moving in a positive direction, I think, towards the end, and that's the unfortunate part about it. And I already mentioned the fact that they were setting it up for a series that I read here on the internet. Oh, well, I don't know. There was something I was going to say, but I can't remember what the heck it was because you make me upset. Don't make me angry, Michael. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't make me angry. You're fine. So, I'll tell you what next week's movie will be, I think, because, not now, but tomorrow is February 1st, and it may disappear, and I'll let you know the alternate tomorrow. But at any rate, that's in Net Control. Thanks for doing the net this evening. We got through 90 minutes, and we were still talking. Back to you, KE5I6.
Tomorrow is Sunday the 31st. Day after tomorrow is February 1st, and things. But when I said semi-final thoughts, I didn't say you had semi-thoughts. I said you had semi-final thoughts because I figured there'd probably be some, like, oh, I had another thought from a few people, possibly even you. And since you seem to have forgotten what it was in your instant rage against, what are you going to make me do? Net Control or something? They'll probably have this thought later at some point.
Elvis,
At any rate, K5A&E, I know you're not going to threaten me or anything, I hope, from WT9B. Yeah, I want to, applaud this movie and hats off for its really experimental technique and definitely very challenging to work with idea of having multiple filming locations. It's really quite a revolutionary thing, and I hope we see more movies in the future that, choose to have their movies shot in more than just one cabin in the woods. Other than that, this really kind of shows the frustration I have with a lot of things when they try too hard to set something up to have it be a series, and there's no real finish at all to the story. We still really don't know anything about John, despite watching stuff about him for a few hours, other than what we learned about him in the first, 20, 30 minutes of the first movie. But it's almost like, well, what was I really watching this whole time? This is K5A&E, back to Net Control. Thank you, Kane. And KD9, it's okay. Sean, what you got for us? I say semi-final thoughts, but that one seems to have already bitten me once. Any wrap-up thoughts you might have at this point, sir, from WT9B?
KB9 is okay. Yeah, nothing really major. Once again, I enjoyed the first movie very much. This movie, not so much. You can definitely tell it's done by a different person. It just didn't have that flow. And I kind of like the mystery of the first movie, and this one was just kind of all over the place. Once again, there was nothing really added in this movie that you learned. other than the fact that he's dying now because of what we've done to the Earth. So that was disappointing. Yeah, there wasn't much for special effects. Bill's already covered that. I guess we could throw the taser effect into it as an extra. Another effect that they had. The music, even that part was off. In the first movie, the background music, you didn't notice it, and that's because it blended well. In this one, when they were playing the music, he was wandering around the woods, and it seemed like it was just some cheap music that they got that was public domain. I'm not sure it was a perfect match for the film, and it was driven a little loud over what it should have been. So even that, they seem to get off in this movie. And then, I'm glad they didn't make this into a series. And quite honestly, I kind of hope they don't do a third one, because I don't know that they're really going to, unless they get somebody that's a really excellent writer and can get this thing back on track. Not much else. Back to Net Control. This is KB9SOK.
Righty then. B5. Lucia Home. Quit harassing Tom on the back channel and pick up your radio, Brenda. It's your turn. WT90. And, I'll come back to you, Brenda. KF5 PDS, Miss Billy. Brenda's not AWOL. We'll try her again in a bit. What's up, Miss Billy?
Well, I did think of something else. Thank you. The scene with the young girl when she goes to make a move on the professor, in that whole scene, she kind of tips off that they know about him, that he's, 14,000 years. She's like, we know who you are. So I think the whole purpose of that scene was to have her give away that bit of information to him that would hasten his departure and kind of accelerate the action. Because even the Isabel, when that girl goes to her and she says, I think I kind of goofed up, I think I kind of spilled the beans a little bit, and she said, oh, well, now he's going to leave faster, so now we got to hurry up. So I think that was meant to be a plot device to kind of drive it and accelerate things, but I agree that could have been totally left out, and the story would not have suffered at all for that if that scene had been completely cut. So other than that, I liked in the first film whenever John would be talking, the kind of tribal music would play, to kind of harken back to the earlier times. And here the music just wasn't utilized quite as well. So, that was, it was disappointing. But overall, I like the films. Both for different reasons. I don't know that they'll do a third one. Anthropocene was kind of a hard thing to say for probably most people, but if they do, it might have to be like Man from Earth, the final chapter or something. I think they should maybe show him kind of disappear off into the sunset, with, because he's aging. I don't know, maybe he has to start aging because it's getting harder and harder for him to hide himself, with the internet and everything, all the technology that's around. He even mentioned that back in the day, in the early days, it was easy to blend in and not be noticed, but that it was getting harder and harder when cities formed and the more civilization came together. And now with like social media and the internet, it's impossible for him to hide. So, now he has to age. Maybe that will help him, hide himself better. He can reinvent himself and move on. So I don't know. Anyway, great net. Thank you, Michael, for being net control, and I look forward to hearing what our next movie is going to be. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5 PDS. Back to net.
Thank you very much. You have a good night. Good Sunday. I guess half the weekend's already gone. Somebody tell Tom to let go of my arm. Kind of hurts at this point. We'll try again for WB5OZL. Brenda, are you out there? Yeah, from WT90.
Yes, I am. I'm right here. It's going to be OZL. Well, one overarching theme that I have with this two movies is just the inherent loneliness of this guy. That he's going to make new friends every 10 years, over and over and over and over. I think I will try to find some way around that so I can stay longer. There's no reason why he couldn't have dyed his hair gray. And people say, well, I've moisturized. He could have certainly pretended to be older and stuck around a while. It's just got to be hard to move into a new place and know that you're going to have these people for 10 years and no more, and never, ever see them again. We're all used to moving around. Oh, yeah, we're going to stay in touch. Yeah, you come out and see us. Go to the reunion, and you never think it's going to be forever. Because it is. I mean, I have not many photographs. It's ridiculous now. We're all photographed 20 times a day. Facial recognition is a thing, especially if there's some cloud over you. So, like being a missing person or something, or being suspected of something. I think he either shouldn't have told his story in the first movie at all, or he should find some people he really trusts and tell his secret and help him. And he could have enduring relationships that way. This reminds me of the character Lazarus Long from some of Robert Heinlein's stories, who moved on every few years. He'd go to a different planet, change his appearance, change his hair, color his hair, and pick up again, de-age himself, and then slowly he'd age as the years went on. He'd have families and wives, but eventually he would just leave the planet and start over someplace else with a totally new identity. But this guy stayed in academia. It might have helped if he stopped where he or maybe some jobs where he could be kind of a hermit or a researcher or something. And so it'd be easier to hide. As it was, it's a circle. In universities, everybody knows each other. And so it makes it harder to hide out. Alright, back to that. WB5OZL.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. Sorry that you didn't hear me the first time around, but we got you. So, you're first party. Let's see. Also, you accused me of being, like garbled, but you were garbled, so there. Yeah. Alright, Tom. It's time for you to have final thoughts now. Brenda says you're asleep. Prove her wrong. From WT90.
This is KE5ICX. I think you're talking to me. Here we go. Next week's movie, are you ready? It's a Star Trek adventure. You're all waiting for it. What's the best thing in the world? This one isn't. Star Trek Generations, the first of the next gen movies. It's got Captain Kirk, it's got Captain Picard, it's got Skynet, it's got, I don't know, lots of averted lighting and everything. If it's still playing on February 1, we'll be good. Otherwise, I don't know, it's free streaming on one of the streaming channels. Next week, Star Trek Generations. Back to the control. This is KE5ICX and all the ships at sea.
Was your final thought? Okay, fine, Cindy. I thought maybe you would have remembered what it was you wanted to say earlier. But that's okay. Anybody else have any other thoughts, comments, whatever? Throw your call sign out there, and we'll see what we got before we wrap this thing up. WT19. Okay then, I'll take that as a no again. Well, not bad. Like pretty much almost an hour and a half on this movie. I have one last thing that I kind of forgot about, but it was also in that Variety article. It's kind of similar to what y'all were saying in general. The sequel hasn't fared as well with fans as its predecessor, and has a 31% audience approval score on Rotten Tomatoes compared with 85% for the original Man from Earth. However, it had moved up to a whole 58% by the time the update to the article was written. Anyway, that's about it. So I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night, good weekend, sleep well. Things like I'm gonna go let my radio cool off. WT9V, 73 y'all.